Today's interview is with Paul DeSilva. Paul talks about how he's managed to scale using the BRRRR method. He bought a duplex and then another duplex and recently bought a 7-unit that he's pretty much rolled the money that from the first property into all 3 of those properties. So really cool story in what he's been able to achieve with not the most amount of capital. Just goes to show what's possible with real estate. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we're joined by Paul DeSilva. Hey Paul, how you doing, man?
Good, Barry. Thanks for having me, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. I'm very happy we were able to make this work and kind of excited to dive into today's conversation. But before we do so, do you want to give us an idea about your background, what you've been up to, and kind of what you're up to right now?
Background is in construction, I guess. Got into construction from a young age. Got into the Carpenters Union when I was 17 years old, right out of high school. Always had an interest in real estate. I'm still working my W-2 job. Still working full time. Always had an interest in real estate, and it was kind of cool seeing a lot of those big projects get built, and the way that construction and real estate really mesh together. So I mean that's it. Construction and real estate's kind of my whole background there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you said you got a trade when you were 17.
Yeah, started my apprenticeship when I was 17.
Wow. So what made you want to go into carpentry?
My dad was in the trades, and I thought that it was a good chance to earn a good living and an honest living. Has good benefits, pension, stuff like that. And college wasn't right for me at the time. I wound up going to college later on and getting a degree, but after high school, I wanted just to get right out there in the workforce. And I think that gave me a huge advantage over a lot of other people, because I was getting paychecks right away when people were accruing debt for college loans. And that's one of the reasons I was able to start so early in real estate.
Yeah, and I'm sure also, I think there's a lot to be said for the real world education that you get, right? Going to college is one thing and you're reading a book and you're learning stuff, right? But
yeah,
real world education of being out there paying bills and having to take care of stuff, right, in the real world. There's a lot to be said about that, I think, as well.
Yeah.
At an early age, I'm sure taught you a lot, I'm sure.
It made me grow up fast. There was no BS. 6 a.m. starts, 7 a.m. starts. There was no hanging out with your buddies late at night. There was no, it was a lot of 7 days a week, kind of, because the schedule, we're always behind schedule on construction sites, and you got to get it done. You got to get it done. So it was a lot of hard work. I enjoy the work, I really do. And it made me grow up fast, and it exposed me to a lot of real estate, actually.
Yeah, what you said as a carpenter, that can entail a lot of different things, right? What were you doing as a carpenter when you were young?
So it's actually a specialist kind of deal. I'm actually a millwright, okay, and we work in power generation industry, anything with movable parts, all right, because underneath the umbrella of the Carpenters Union, there's different sects, I guess, of have dock builders, floor coverers, finished carpenters, concrete carpenters, heavy highway carpenters, interior systems. There's all these different areas that people work in. And I got into the Millwrights Union, which is a lot of work with metal, actually, not with wood. Power plants, a lot of welding, a lot of high precision work, working on turbines. Pretty complex work, airports, water treatment centers. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I always assumed the carpenter was someone that worked with wood. I'm sure maybe a lot of people make the same mistake.
Well, I think that they do, and it's hard to explain exactly what I do, and I'm still learning what I do because the technology is always changing. But uh, we used to work with wood back, I guess, in the old country. Shafts were made out of wood, gears were made out of wood, windmills were made out of wood, all that stuff. And now technology has evolved, and we're working with alloys and steels and stuff like that.
Yeah. So where did real estate come into all of this then? When did you start?
Oh man, I guess just seeing the owners of these facilities and just you could buy a piece of land and sell it to a facility, or just seeing how much money the airports make, that the owners of the airports, and we're going into these airports and revamping all the terminals and the baggage handling systems. It's and then talking with guys on the job that had a rental property or inherited some properties, but just really seeing how land works. Contractors or owners buying land and developing it, seeing the skyscrapers go up in Manhattan and stuff. I mean, that real estate is priceless, maybe not right now at the moment, but
It's still not cheap, right? But yeah, there's definitely a lot of value in there. Yeah. So what was the first bit of real estate that you bought?
So I knew I wanted to. I was renting for a while, and I was kind of getting sick of renting and giving my landlord a rent check every month. And I said, you know what, I'm really going to set a goal, and I want to have a house by 25. And I saved up a ton of money. Well, not a ton of money, but I saved us as much money as I could for a down payment on a house. And I searched for a long time, and I bought myself a 2-family house in 2012. And before I even knew about house hacking or bigger pockets, or I just said, listen, if I get laid off or if I get hurt, I can't go to work as a construction guy. If the work slows down, I would like to have a tenant to help me pay my mortgage. And I searched around for a long time because I didn't have a huge budget, and real estate in New York is pretty expensive. So I found a fixer-upper. I was able to do the work myself because I was in the trade, and I got into the property probably after looking for about 12 months. I must have looked at probably 40 houses, and then I found this one that was in the neighborhood that I wanted to be in. It was the right price point, and it had a tenant in there. It was destroyed, the apartment. One unit was vacant, and the downstairs unit had a tenant, and I mean, it was a mess. It was an absolute mess. It was disgusting. I could still smell remember what it smelled like. And so we get in there, we did a full gut job, and we renovated that. And that was in the summer of 2012. And it's in a real nice little neighborhood, one house off the water. I could see the water from my house. Fast forward a couple of months, and Hurricane Sandy happened. 8 feet of water in the house. The house flooded out. All that work I just did just all got destroyed. That was a huge blow. To I'm like, man, what did I get myself into? I'm in over my head. That was my first experience with real estate.
Yeah, that's a rough one. But backtracking to when you bought it, right? So even though you're in the trade, right, and you understand construction and whatnot, to buy a property like that is still intimidating, right? Because it's one thing to pick someone else's property, but for it to be yours and to be your responsibility. What gave you the confidence to kind of go ahead and do that, right? Because I think people buying their first property, it's intimidating enough to buy that first property, but to buy something that needed, like you said, a complete gut job, it took some balls to do that, to be fair.
Yeah. I was real confident with my numbers. I have a couple of friends who are real estate agents, and they said, that it seemed like a pretty good deal. I ran my numbers from whatever I could figure out. I didn't know much at the time, and I learned a lot along the way. And I feel like sometimes that's the best way to learn. And I just said, I'm going to do it. I don't want to be paying rent forever. And what's the worst that could happen? I had a couple of exit strategies. If it didn't work out and I couldn't afford it, or if something went sideways, I could rent out both units, or after I fix it up, I could flip it, or, if I wanted to rent a room to a buddy or something, I mean, there was multiple exit strategies there.
Yeah, yeah, and that's smart. That's a smart way to think of it, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen here, right? And then
Yeah.
how you can mitigate those risks.
Yeah.
So then, man, that sucks, man. I'm sorry that happened. Then you fixed it up, made it nice, right? And had that sense of achievement, proof of concept. This is working. Real estate is easy. Bang comes, the hurricane to mess everything up. How did you recover from that? Did insurance cover all of that for you, or did it kind of mess you up?
So it was probably one of the hardest things for me during that whole process was not the finishes of the house and the house itself, because that could all get fixed and all get replaced. I had moved in tenants. Hurricane Sandy happened on October 28th or 29th. I did all that work over the summer and the first part of the fall. I moved my tenants in on October 1st. And it was all their belongings and all their pictures and all of their clothes had gotten destroyed. And luckily enough, my unit didn't have too much damage. But I felt so bad about them losing their stuff. And they had renter's insurance, but you can't replace family heirlooms and stuff like that. But fast forward, insurance did help with rebuilding. I actually gutted the downstairs apartment again for the second time in the same year, redid everything. And then fast forward a couple of years later, after I had the downstairs unit rented back out, the original tenants moved out. They didn't want to come back. They were scared. Rented it out to another family. And fast forward a couple of years, and I guess the federal government came out with some kind of program, and they changed the flood maps, and they told me my flood insurance was going to go to like $10,000 a year over a course of so many years. It was going to go up every year and max out at like around $10,000 a year. So they actually wound up raising the house for me. They gave me a grant to raise the house. So now it's flood proof. And that's where I'm at right now. And
how high did they raise the house for you?
It's about 9 feet above street level. It's on pilings.
Oh wow! So they raised the whole house 9 feet.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. How does that? Were you there for that? Like, how does that work?
So they had to do a bunch of modifications. Obviously foundation. Pretty much the whole house is new. They replaced pretty much the whole thing. And it was all through this Build It Back program. And a lot of the areas in New Jersey and New York and Long Island had similar programs. So you saw all these neighborhoods, all the houses getting lifted and raised or rebuilt or repaired. That storm hit us pretty bad in this area, and it really damaged a lot of the properties. And they changed the flood maps. Once they changed those flood maps, I think that that's really what sparked the government to say, hey, we got to start raising these houses, otherwise we're going to keep losing them. So
yeah, and they paid for all of that. You didn't have to come out of pocket for any of that.
Had to come out of pocket a little bit, but not even close to what it cost for the construction.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. So it all worked out, I guess, kind of in the end, right?
It was really a blessing in disguise, Barry. It really did work out in the end. Yeah.
So what was next after that one for you?
So I wound up getting into another two-family. That was just an investment property. I wasn't planning on living there. It was an REO. It was a foreclosure. The bank wanted $90K. We went in and we did an inspection. Both the boilers were popped, all the radiators were popped, all the plumbing was popped from freeze damage. So we sent them a couple of estimates. We wound up getting into the property for $60,000, and we did about a $65,000 or $70,000 repair in the house. And then we got that rented out, and we did the BRRRR on that. We did the BRRRR on this house too here.
Oh, okay, so you did the BRRRR on the first one as well?
Yeah. After all that work was done, we had some equity in the house, and we did a home equity line of credit, got into the 2-family house, upstate New York. And then we were into that property for about 130 and it appraised for 249.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we pulled out cash on that property and that got us into another property, a 7-unit. And then we just finished the BRRRR. We just closed last week on that 7-unit, the refinance.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So,
yeah.
Wow. So you kept rolling that money from the first one essentially into other deals and it kind of bought you some more units.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at it, like my original down payment on this house has kind of been the only money that I've ever really invested. I mean, there's a lot of sweat equity, tons of sweat equity. And, you know, I've used the leverage to get into these other properties.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't done any hard money. I haven't done any private lending. I'm looking to do some of that now because I'm going to be getting to a place where I'm going to need to start if I want to scale my business. I'm going to need to start looking to use other people's money.
Oh, that's phenomenal, though. You know, it just shows you what's possible with real estate, right? You know, people are always saying, "Oh, I don't have money to invest in real estate." Well, you know, if you have money for the first property and you're able to do it right, you can buy that property, fix it up, create equity, do a cash out refinance or do a HELOC, whatever you decide. Take that money and then roll it into other deals. It's amazing what you. And then, you know, that first property essentially got you from 0 units to what, 11 units now?
I'm at 12. Yeah.
12
so
units, yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's it really is unbelievable the way you could leverage. And now the money that I'm pulling out of the 7-unit, we just got contracts on another 6-unit. So hopefully I'll be closing on that right in January. So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, like you said, it's unbelievable what you could do. And they say you make money when you buy. And that's really something that I found to be so true. You got to buy right.
Yeah. And so the second one, you said you put 65 to 70K into the fixing it up. Was that just money from the first one, or did you get a construction loan or something like that? How did you finance all that?
That was all out of the HELOC, and I wound up paying myself back most of that money. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
When you're buying these, right? So talk us through the process of the BRRRR, right? Was that the intention of the first one as well, to buy, renovate, refinance?
So yeah. When I picked up that first property, the first investment property in 2017, I had just found out about BRRRR, and I was crushing like probably 2 or 3 podcasts a day. I've listened to every podcast on BRRRR and a bunch of other podcasts. I'm like, you know, I consume a lot of content between podcasts and books, you know, audio books and reading books too. So I was like so intrigued by the BRRRR method, and I'm like, man, I gotta dive into this and figure out how this works. And we bought the 2-family, and I knew I wanted to BRRRR that because I wanted to leverage it, and I knew I was going to have equity in the property. I thought I was going to be able to do it right away. I didn't realize that there was a seasoning period. Mm-hmm. So the bank that I was working with at the time, because it was my first investment, they wanted a 12-month seasoning period. Now I have them where I could go 6 months. But I didn't know that. I thought I was going to be able to pull my cash out right away, and that's something I learned, along the way.
Yeah. So the first one, you had to wait 12 months, or were you able to go to another bank and get them to do it in a short period of time?
I just waited the 12 months. Yeah. We had construction for a few months. It took a month or 2 to get rented out. I was really new to screening tenants. The 2-family here, it was always word of mouth, friends, a family or somebody. It was my first time actually like screening tenants, for an investment property. So definitely had some growing pains with that first property.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was asking. You know, I'm sure there was a lot of lessons learned right along the way.
Yeah.
In terms of the property itself, for someone who's looking to do a BRRRR, because it's an amazing strategy, right? You know, to be able to take that money that you have invested, fix a property up, and take it out again, tax-free, right? If you do a cash-out refinance, is just unbelievable. So what are some things that you learn on that one outside of the seasoning that you have to wait 12 months rather than 6 months? In terms of, maybe what you wanted the ARV to be, some construction stuff, like maybe share some stuff that you learned on that one.
So something, definitely construction usually takes longer and goes over budget most of the time. And there's a lot of stuff when you open up walls that you didn't know it was there. We found some knob and tube electric. It was an old Victorian from the early 1900s. And that was a big no-no. We had to replace electrical that we weren't planning on. So that was extra money that came out of the budget. Contractors, they kind of make their own hours. We've got some really good contractors now, but just starting off, we were vetting a lot of contractors. There were some guys that we had to fire after the first week. I think that this happens. It happened so organically. We kind of just jumped in and figured it out as we were doing it. So yeah, kind of over time and over budget.
I always hear that when people open up, you start opening up walls and stuff like that, you always find stuff, right? So looking back, do you now give yourself a fudge factor, when you're calculating renovation costs, and kind of what do you factor in for that fudge factor?
So I got to say that was probably one of the bigger renovations that we did. The third property we bought was kind of almost turnkey with just some cosmetic stuff, new LVP floors, new rugs, carpets, new paint, new hardware. We try to stay away from extensive construction, especially now with everything that's going on. We don't do any flips. We're just looking for buy and hold, and we want not turnkey per se, but light renovations because of those exact things that you were saying, the fudge factor, time, going over budget, dealing with shortages right now, building materials, like there's extreme shortages with building materials. We just replaced the deck. We've replaced some roofs. Like just getting contractors to come out and do an estimate is like pulling teeth. It's so hard. So like, especially right now, we're focusing on light cosmetic work and mismanaged properties. We're looking for mom and pop landlords that are looking to retire or just get out of the business. And that's what we were able to do with that 7 unit. It was in need of it was a lot of maintenance was deferred. It didn't have a lot of curb appeal. Only 2 of the units out of the 7 were rented. So they were losing money every month. So we got that property for pretty cheap. And that's what we look for. Like not so much value add for construction, but like value add where we could bump the rents up, market to a better quality of tenant, and get the units rented out, all the units rented out.
Yeah, why do you think it's hard to get construction guys to come out right now? Is it the pandemic? Is it they're busy? Is it they've gone to do something else? Do you have any idea?
I think that they're just so busy in my area where I'm investing in the Hudson Valley. They're so busy with people leaving New York City. This is the most work that they've had probably since 9/11. Because after 9/11, a lot of people left the city and went kind of spread out of the city, to Jersey, to Connecticut, to Long Island, to upstate. They're just so busy, and there's not enough of them. There's not enough of them right now. The one guy that I've done a couple of renovations with, he's doing a couple new construction houses. I called him. I got to replace a roof on one of the properties, and he's like, I'm 8 months out before I could even get to your job. I'm like, I got to go with somebody else. I'm sorry, man, but
that's crazy. 8 months. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good for them. Huh? Good that they're that busy, but
yeah,
sucks if you want to try and get some work done, right?
Even appliances. We had to get a dishwasher. One of our dishwashers broke, and we called 2 different Lowe's and a Home Depot, and it was like trying to find the appliance that we wanted. Even hot water heaters. Everything seems to be hard to come by.
Yeah, I had the exact same problem with appliances. I ordered appliances, and I got them delivered. So I ordered about 3 weeks out. I had some time. I ordered them nice and early, but they delivered the wrong kind. I wanted electric, and they delivered gas stove.
Oh,
and the tenants were supposed to move in a week. They'll try and get a stove in a week. It was almost impossible because I think they're not manufacturing at the same level, right? Manufacturing is way down. They're not
yep.
importing as many of them as well. So like you said, it's appliances now is like scarcity. It's really hard to get a hold of them. So I completely understand where you're coming from there.
Yeah, even with the pressure treated lumber, it was really hard. And I kind of spoke to some people, and they said it's because a lot of the facilities that make these products are running with just skeleton crews, and they're not making as much as they were pre-COVID, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's crazy everything that's going on. That 7 unit. How did you find that 7 unit?
That's a good question. That was actually an off-market deal. My plumber actually brought me that deal. He said, "Hey, man, I know you're looking to invest and you know, in this area, and we maintain this building for this elderly couple, and they were telling me that they want to sell it. They haven't listed it yet. So he gave them my contact information. They reached out to me. We came up to an agreement on, you know, and we got into it. No real estate agents, kind of just, you know, that was a little scary because it was only like my third deal or fourth deal. And, you know, I've always had a real estate agent before, but, you know, we did it. We knocked it down, and it went great.
Yeah. Well, how did you set that up? So obviously you got in touch with the sellers, right? And then you know, you guys hashed out a price.
Yeah.
Then how did it go from there for someone who's never done a transaction without an agent or a broker?
It was actually smoother than I thought. You know, and you know, the attorneys handle a lot of that stuff. The agent really is just a buffer or middle person to between the seller and the buyer, or if there's two agents, a buyer's agent and a seller's agent. I mean, I just spoke to the people. I told them what I had in mind. I told them, you know, I showed them some comps. They showed me some comps. I had a home inspection, and we just had a lot of respect for each other. And, you know, we just made the deal happen. They wanted to get out. I was able to take it off their hands, and, you know, it worked out for both. It was a win-win.
So the hard thing is with something that's, you know, has 5 vacancies out of the 7, right? Only has 2 tenants in. How do you come up with pricing for that? Because obviously multifamily is valued on the income approach, right? The NOI.
Yeah.
There barely is an NOI on something like that, right? So how do you come up with a valuation or something like that?
So the original price they wanted, I countered offered a much lower price, and I showed them how I came up with my number.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did a bunch of research on the income approach and cap rates in the area and stuff, using the bigger pockets calculators and stuff. And we kind of met in the middle, kind of where most transactions meet, somewhere in the middle, right? And I think they were very happy. They owned it for a long time. I don't think that they had a big mortgage on the property. They were kind of letting it fall to the wayside. We went in there, we did a bunch of cosmetic work, did a bunch of landscaping. The property looks 10 times better than what it did when we bought it. And it increased. We just had that appraised, and we just finished the refinance on that. It increased almost 100% in value. It almost doubled in value in 2 years.
Wow. And
yeah.
How much do you think you guys had to put into that? But to renovate it in terms of the units and in terms of the landscape?
Not much. I mean, really just, you know, like I said, carpet, paint, some luxury vinyl plank. Now we're going to use some of that refinance money. We're going to renovate a couple of the bathrooms as tenants move out, which we hope they don't. But if they do, we're going to, you know, upgrade some of the units a little bit. But I mean, most of them are pretty nice the way they sit right now. And they rent out pretty fast. We don't get too many complaints about any of them.
Nice. Do you manage that yourself, or do you have a partner?
Yeah, I manage everything myself. Yeah, and work, you know, a full-time job, so I'm pretty busy.
Yeah. What made you decide to manage them yourself then? Or did you want the experience?
I think that I wanted the experience. So when I do get big enough where I could offload it, and I always budget in like 8 to 10% for property management fees. into my calculations. But I wanted to have the experience this way. When I do get big enough to offload the property management to a third party, I'll know if they're doing the right thing, and if, you know, if they're pulling the wool over my eyes or not, you know, so to speak.
Yeah. I think it's important to understand, right? To understand what the process looks like. And
Yeah.
so then, like you said, then when you hire someone, you know what to look out for and what you expect.
Right.
And yeah, that's great. That's great. So the 7 unit, you guys you in the process, or you just closed on the refinance?
We closed last week on the refinance. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then now you have a 6
Yeah.
unit lined up. What's the story on the 6 unit?
6 unit. It's a 3-family house,
Okay.
and then 3 mobile homes on the property.
Oh wow.
So
That's unique.
yeah, so that's it's pretty unique, but it's really interesting. There's a lot of tax benefits to the mobile homes. They depreciate much faster, and they're newer models. You know, we had the full inspection. I did a ton of research on it. They're all tied down and blocked and on concrete slabs and skirted. So it's pretty interesting. The return on investment is much greater on the mobile homes than it is on the actual 3-family building itself. For the rents versus the value of the mobile homes, it's like insane, you know. So that it's really interesting, and I'm learning a lot still about it.
Yeah. So the 3 mobile home packs, 3 mobile home, the pads. Do you guys own the home or just the pads? Or do you own? Yeah. What do you guys?
So we own the home. Yeah. We're just renting it out.
Okay, and then there's water and sewer lines that you guys have to be responsible. What? Yeah, and then electric and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a couple of overhead lights. This property actually has well and septic on it. It's a pretty rural property. But most of that stuff we let the tenant pay for. It's all subdivided, all sub-metered, I should say. Couple of units are actually going to be Section 8, the tenants that are there now. We don't have any Section 8 properties right now. A couple of these units are. 3 out of the 6 units on this property are Section 8, and Section 8 wanted us to pay for the utilities too, so we're budgeting that into our numbers, of course, and it's still going to work out pretty good.
And how did you find this one?
This was an MLS listing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you think the uniqueness of it is what many people maybe one looking at it, one paying attention to it the same way?
I think so. I think some people were scared away by the mobile homes, and we also acted really fast. It was only on the market for a few days when we made an offer. It's super competitive in our area right now. We made so many offers, highest and best situations. We were actually in contract, had a down payment on a 4 unit over the summer. The seller actually sent our down payment back, canceled the contract. It's so aggressive right now where I'm investing. So we got in right away. We showed proof of funds, showed them that we were really serious, had the inspectors there the next week, and we got it. Hopefully we get it. Obviously we didn't close yet, but I think we're going to. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I'll have my fingers crossed for you. When you say we as well, do you have a partner or your wife or what is it?
No, my wife definitely helps. It's mostly me, but I consider my team. I wouldn't be able to do this without my real estate agents, my contractors, everybody. Really, you can't do it by yourself. You got to have people around you. My attorney, so I kind of speak, but mostly the investment part is just myself.
Right. But yeah, just the team is critical, right? Building that team is critical. How have you built your team? How did you find your agent to start off with? Because it's always tough to find a good real estate agent can really make you a lot of money, right? If you find the right one.
Yeah. So the agent that I'm using upstate, my neighbors were selling their house and buying a house up there, and they used this guy, and they gave me his number, and I just called him up. I interviewed him, and we clicked right away. And he knows the area really good. He's been an agent up there for like 30 years. and we got that first deal together, and then we just been rolling ever since.
Yeah. When you were interviewing, what were you looking for when you were interviewing? Did you have things in mind that you were trying to see and get, or just more of a feel?
Probably more of a feel, just making sure that our personalities work together, and that, he was willing. I told him that I'm an investor. I'm going to be making a lot of low ball offers. Is he okay with that? He used to own rental properties himself. That's another quality I think you want to look for in a real estate agent. He has his own brokerage, so he really knows the ins and the outs. And him having rental properties also was big for me, because he knew what I was going to be looking for.
Yeah, I think that's huge. If you have an agent who understands investing, right? They don't necessarily. It's better if they've owned, or they do own, because they really understand it. But at least you want them to understand. Like, you don't want them sending you property, say, "Oh, I like the view from this property. Oh, I like the color of the walls of this one." All right, that doesn't, as an investor, right? That doesn't, that's not that important to us. So it's important that you do. And I also like that you, from the get-go, you told him, "Hey, listen, I'm going to be making a lot of lowball offers. Are you okay with that?" Right? There's a lot of agents, and I understand why, right? They want a return on their money, right? And they want a return on their time as well. So it's, doing a lot of lowball offers can be very time consuming, but I think it's good to be upfront with them, and so that they understand what their expectations is, because then, you both know what's going to come out of the relationship, right? If you both understand what you're trying to achieve. So I think that's great that you did that. And then, did you build the other team? Did that agent help you build the other team members? How did you find the attorney? How did you find the construction guys?
Construction guys, again, just networking. And the attorney was word of mouth from the agent. And he's been great, my attorney. Very, very savvy guy. I hope he doesn't retire. He's talking about retiring, because then I'm going to have to find a new attorney. And, that's what they say. You want a young doctor and an old attorney. So I hope that he's got a couple of years left in him. But he's been great.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. You mentioned
a lot of word of mouth.
Yeah. Well, I think what it is like you said there, right, on the deal that your plumber brought it, right? You've got to tell people what you're doing, right? If you're talking to people and telling people what you're doing, you're likely to find deals, find people, find team members from that. But if you're not telling anyone, how's anyone supposed to know, right? So I think that's huge, is to tell everyone that you're in real estate and what you're trying to achieve.
And I tell everybody all the time, and I gave my plumber a finder's fee for that property. So, he's always going to have his eyes and his ears open for me, because he wants my work. If I close on a property, I'll keep him on as a plumber for that property, and he'll get a finder's fee for it. So, and he's in all these houses. He's all over the neighborhood. He knows which houses are good, which houses are not good, so, I mean, definitely leverage your contractors too, to be boots on the ground for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like you said, you want to take care of the people, right? The people that are helping you and are doing right by you. If you take care of them, right, I think that's really important.
I believe in that so much. Like, even I send out Christmas cards to everybody, or holiday cards, and like the people that I interact with all the time, I'll send them a gift card to a local restaurant for the holidays. I mean, you just got to keep taking care of the people that take care of you and that help you. And if you say that you're going to do something, I think integrity is so big in this business, because of how competitive it is. If you don't do as you say, I think that a lot of people aren't going to take you seriously, and they're not going to go the extra mile to help you, or bring you that deal, or put in all those low ball offers for you. I think you really have to do what you say.
Yeah. I think that's critical to building relationships, right? Because otherwise, people are not going to take you seriously then. Right. You mentioned then you read a lot when you first kind of got into real estate and found out about real estate. What are some good books you've read, you think?
Oh man, I had a goal of reading 50 books this year, and I'm somewhere in the high 30s or low 40s. I actually got to figure it out tomorrow. I didn't hit my goal, but I came pretty close to it, and I consumed a lot of podcasts, probably almost 500 hours of podcasts I figured out. But it started out with Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, I got it I got it right here on the shelf behind me. I read it probably once or twice a year. Millionaire Real Estate Investor, Landlording on Autopilot, the E-Myth Real Estate Investor, a lot of the Rich Dad books, and then a lot of self-help books, you know, Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, stuff like that.
Man, that's a lot of books. There's almost one a week, right? If you're in.
That's what I was shooting for. I didn't do it though. I fell a little bit short, which I'm upset about, but it was a pretty busy year otherwise. So
yeah, that's impressive. That's impressive. I like that a lot. And you read rather than listen. I'm an Audible guy, so it looks like you're a bit of both.
I'm probably 70% Audible, 30% flipping pages.
Okay. Yeah. I have trouble with sitting down and reading stuff sometimes. My mind wanders too much. I have trouble focusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man. That's awesome, man. I love how you've been able to scale. That's just so cool, right? To just, I love stories like yours because I think there's so many people out there who like don't think that they can do it, or they don't think that they have enough money, or they don't think that it's possible, right? But you just shown, right? You bought your first property, and that scaled you to where you are today, right? When you bought two duplexes and a 7-unit, and you're getting ready to buy a 3-family and 3 mobile home packs, right? It's just amazing.
Yeah. So, I mean, my goal is 40 units by 40 years old. I got 6 years to get there. I got 12 right now. So hopefully 6 more coming up soon. I'll be at 18. I'm wondering if I need to bump that goal up a little bit, but
you need to put it 400, man. The way you're going, 40, you'll be at 40 by the end of next year, I bet, easily.
It's hard because I'm using really only my own money right now, and equity from properties and whatever money I could save up from my W-2 job, without taking away from my, going on a vacation and having a good time with my wife. But I'm looking to joint venture. I'm looking to definitely do some hard money stuff. I'm thinking I might have to get into a situation where I might flip 1 or 2 houses a year to have that money coming in and put that money towards long-term, buy and hold stuff. Because I am going to hit a point. I could see a roadblock coming up where I do hit a kind of a wall, and I'm not able to have those refinances coming quickly enough to keep moving forward.
Yeah. The great thing about real estate is you can, right? You don't need all your, you need money to buy real estate, but it doesn't need to be your own, right? And it's just really cool. Yeah. You can actually use, a lot of other people's money, right? Be it hard money lenders, be it private money investors, be it friends, family who want to invest with you. There's a ton of different ways to do it. So I think that's, the cool thing about real estate. But cool story, man. I appreciate you sharing. It's been really interesting to hear what you've done and the way you've done it, and like you said, some roadblocks along the way. But it's you're doing, man, and you're doing it, and it's awesome to see. But as this show's called Wrestling with Real Estate, I always like to ask some wrestling-related real estate questions. So the first one is, what would your wrestling name be if you picked one for yourself? You think?
I'm terrible at naming stuff. I guess the machinist, because the work I do, and I guess I'm, I try to be like a machine all the time.
That was good, man. I like that, the machinist. I like that. That's kind of badass. Now every wrestler has a special move, right? It's their biggest strength. When they hit that move in the match is over, because that's what they're really, really good at. What is your special move in real estate?
I would have to say the BRRRR strategy.
Yeah, you've done it time and time. And is the goal on the 6 units to do the BRRRR strategy again?
I'm hoping so. Actually, with the 6 unit, because it was MLS, it was kind of closer to what it's probably going to appraise for. So I was a little bit concerned with that. I actually wound up contacting a friend who's an appraiser. I asked him his honest opinion. I paid him an hourly fee, and he told me, no, listen, I think that you're getting a great deal. If I was going to appraise this, I don't want to talk numbers until we close on that deal, but he said, if I was going to appraise this, the number that you're buying it at is a really good deal.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm hoping I don't have to worry about bank appraisal being low or something like that. And I hope that I have that initial equity in that deal from the conversation that we had.
Oh, perfect.
Being the appraiser. Yeah.
This episode will be a few weeks out anyway, so hopefully you'll have closed by the time this comes out anyway. So.
I hope so.
That'll be awesome. What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your investing career, you think?
So probably Hurricane Sandy was probably like getting kicked while I was down. I was so new. I just dumped like almost every penny that I had into this property, and then like 3 months later, it gets flooded out, and I didn't know where to even start. I didn't have any money to fix the place up. I had to wait for insurance. That was pretty devastating, but I felt like it built a lot of character, and I learned a lot of lessons from that, and it really was a blessing in disguise in the long run.
Yeah, and I find time and time again, it like a lot of bad situations lead to a lot of people's success, right? A lot of adversity leads to people, going on and being even more successful. And so sometimes, as much as it sucks, sometimes it just drives you forward to do more. A lot of times, I feel like
the hard stuff is worth it. All the time. Just like you said, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, cool. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope, getting ready to jump, but you were too scared? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
I've been looking a lot into mobile home parks lately, just because of, it's kind of an asset class that really was, I guess, not talked about for a while, or maybe it was just new to me, but now I see a lot of people talking about it, and it piqued my interest. And there was an 18-unit mobile home park in my neck of the woods that came on the market, and I went there a couple of times with my real estate agent, and really, really did a lot of running the numbers, and it was a little bit out of my price range, and I was going to try to either syndicate some money or like joint venture, and I kind of just didn't have the guts to do it, and I kind of let it slide. And somebody else scooped it up before I was able to do it. So, it almost felt too big for me to do at the time. I'm working a regular W-2 job, working overtime. I only have a certain amount of time per week to really devote to real estate. And I guess probably with just a little bit more work, I could have got it done, but analysis paralysis, I guess.
Yeah. Going back now, looking back now, would you have done the deal this time around?
So after doing a bunch more research, I found like the bottom part of that property was in a real swampy area and a flood zone. And after getting flooded out one time, I said, that's enough. I didn't want to get involved with it again. So maybe it was a good thing that we didn't get involved in it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, everything just kind of works out, I think, a lot of times.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, Paul, thank you so much, man, for being on the show, man. It's been a really interesting story to kind of see what you've been able to achieve and continue to grow and like have even more success, right? There's like, you don't need 6 years to get to 40 units. I think you'll be there in 6 months, man, the way you're going. So
really, I hope so.
Yeah, but before I go, if there's people that want to reach out and get in touch with you, or if they want to find out more about what you've got going on, how can they do so?
I'm not too big on social media. I'm trying to build my social media presence. Instagram is probably the best way to get me. It's Pearl Street Realty Group on Instagram. Maybe you could put it in the show notes or something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. And that's probably the best way.
Okay.
Instagram.
Cool, man. Well, cool. Well, hey, thanks for making the time, man. And good luck with that 6 unit.
Thanks for having me, Barry. Nice talking with you, man.
You too, man.
Take care.